Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today we are closing in on the letter B, and we are going to look at my record collection today, the Exotica records. Exotica records that begin with the letter B. And first up, we have the album called William Holden Presents a Musical Touch of Faraway Places, Warren Barker and His Orchestra. And this is on the Warner Brothers label. This has a cute cartoon, things on the back to represent the music. And what I particularly like this album for, to my knowledge, this is the only recording of the song Moonflowers, which was taken from the Bob Hope and Dorothy Lamour and what's his name? Bing Crosby movie On the Road to Bali. They did all those on the road movies to exotic places. They did a movie On the Road to Bali. Dorothy Lamour sings the song Moonflowers, which I love, and it's not on record. This is the only recorded version of the song Moonflowers I've ever found, and I love it. And when I do the needle drops, I will play part of the song Moonflowers. Beautiful songs. First song I learned how to play on the steel guitar when I taught myself. Now we come to the artist Les Baxter, very well known in Exotica circles. Les Baxter was an orchestra leader and had many albums of just sort of standard, easy listening music then. I think this record was 1958, although I'm not sure. Anyway, in the late 50s, he recorded this album, had this idea, Ritual of the Savage. And kind of the birth of what we call exotica music was born. This is just supposed to be images, musical images of exotic ports in Africa and Asia and places unknown and very exotic. And this song from this album was Quiet Village. That was popular. Quiet Village became was picked up, covered by Martin Denny, who had a big hit with it, and then exotica music really just took off. And the song Quiet Village is really the most well-known of the exotica songs, and it is covered on many different albums by different artists, but this would be the original recording. My copy that I have is duophonic. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it was after stereo. There were records recorded before stereo became into being, and then when stereo came, they took some mono recordings and created what they call duophonic, which is, I don't know exactly what it is. It's kind of like a slight delay or an echo or something, and it gives you like a little bit of an illusion of stereo, although it isn't really. And some people hate it. Some people hate duophonic. I don't mind it. Anyway, Ritual of the Savage. I think the next album that he did in this vein was Tambo, although I'm not exactly sure of the time frame. But and then this again is sort of African, Cuban, whatever, all these weird influences to create this sort of strange Never Never land. My copy is for promotional use, and this is a really beaten up copy. I need to get a better copy of this than what I have, but it isn't strictly Hawaiian at all, so I haven't been too crazy about getting one, but when I find a nicer one, I will. This really, other than I think Bora Bora, which we'll get to later, was my first Les Baxter album that I ever owned as a kid or knew anything about. This would have been the second one that I got when I was in college age, and this would really be the second Les Baxter album I ever got. Les Baxter's original Quiet Village on Capitol. This is actually just a compilation of some of his earlier material, the original Quiet Village, and then songs from some of his other albums, although I didn't know them at the time. So yeah, that was really, other than Bora Bora, which we'll talk about later, this is the first second Les Baxter album I ever had, and I think this probably was the third. Ports of Pleasure, Les Baxter and his orchestra, also on Capitol. I think everything until the end was on Capitol. And this one also, just exotic ports of call. The songs Tahiti, A Summer Night at Sea, Tramp Steamer to Singapore, Monkey Dance of Bali. Everything very exotic. The Pearls of Ceylon. This music's full orchestra, and it's all really like very exotic tone poems, you know. I like it. Les Baxter's Jewels of the Sea, titillating orchestrations for listening and loving. And this copy apparently originally belonged to a Mr. and Mrs. Theodore Berger of Portland, Oregon. I think this one comes out in stereo. Mine is mono, and I think I have to look for a stereo one at some point. This is a nice album, also a little bit different, sort of more nautical in its theme, but very nice. Then we have Skins, a bongo party with Les Baxter. This one gets into a little more, a lot of bongo drumming. As it says here, here's the album that young America has been asking for, Skins. I really like Brazilian Bash and Reverb Asia off of this album, but mostly drumming. We have a soundtrack. The film was, he did several soundtracks, Goliath and the Barbarians, and released the soundtrack under the title Les Baxter's Barbarian from American International Records. There's a poster for the film on the back there. 1,001 women dream of his embrace. 10,000 barbarians feared his strength and called him Goliath. Then finally today we will do Les Baxter, The Sacred Idol. Great cover there. Strange and exotic music keyed to the mysterious legends of the feathered serpent of the Aztecs. From the motion picture, The Sacred Idol. Although my understanding is The Sacred Idol never came out. The film actually ended up never being released. However, they did release this sort of musical soundtrack from it. This also is a great album, Pool of Dreams, I really like. But a song I really, really love from here is Gardens of the Moon. And when I do the needle drop, we will hear a sample from Gardens of the Moon. I love that song. And speaking of needle drops, we have more Les Baxter next time, but let's listen to some needle drops. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more Hawaiian and exotic and South Pacific record videos. I'm Kaiwaza, and we will see you next time. Aloha.